Hey sneak peekers, we're outside the Paramount at South by Southwest for the red carpet of Marlee Matlin, Not Alone Anymore. Let's check it out. Right. Hi, it's so nice to meet you. We're with Sneak Peek at the University of Texas. We're students. It's an honor to be able to talk to you today. So for my first question, I'd like to ask, what was your relationship with Marlee and Shoshannah before joining on this film, and why did you decide to come on?
Well, first of all, the funny thing about Marlee and Shoshannah and myself, we all played the same role. We played Sarah and Norman in Children of a Lesser God. So it's kind of amazing in itself. But Marlee, the first time that I became aware of her is when my parents took me to watch her movie, and that was when I was 8 years old. And it was mind-blowing to me to see deaf children actually grow up and become adults, because at that time my world, was just other deaf children like myself. So Marlee was a huge impact on that awareness. And Marlee has always had a huge presence in my life, not directly, probably until just a few years ago, but I remember when I first started acting, I started thinking, what can I do? And Marlee and I connected. She made the time to actually talk to me on FaceTime to give me some advice. Same with Shoshannah, who is a veteran in this industry.
That's great, and I didn't know that y'all all played the same role. That's so funny. And also, I know you also have something similar with Marlee, because y'all both have had historic firsts in your career, with you playing the first deaf superhero and Marlee, of course, winning the Oscar. So how do you think your experience is different or similar to Marlee's in some ways?
Well, I feel like we do need to remember that when Marlee won the Oscar, she was 19. She was barely an adult. And when I got my breakout role, I was already very established as an adult. I already had a strong deaf identity. So I think that was the biggest difference between the two of us. But still, we arrived to the same place. We're here on the red carpet today. And I feel so honored to be in her space.
I mean, it's a big challenge to be the person that everybody looks to. You know, when I first started out, I was very young. I was 19 years old. And I I really just came out of high school. And I was growing up in Chicago in my little bubble of my neighborhood. But I didn't realize how big the world was out there, how big the community outside of Chicago was. So then when I did come out and I did the film, and I realized, okay, this is bigger than I thought. There's a big deaf community out there. They're excited for me to be in this movie. Okay, good. And I won the Academy Award, and okay, even better. And then by the following year, it all turned against me because I decided to speak at the Academy Awards, which was completely confusing to me that they got upset with me, and I was getting it from all sides. And there were a few of the reporters who thought that I won the Oscar out of pity, and the deaf community said that she spoke, she's not with us, and it seemed like the whole world was mad at me. And I was so young, I didn't get it. All I could do was basically act, just like anybody else who wanted to be an actor, but being deaf made it harder. And then there were other things that I wanted to get. I had my own agenda. I wanted closed captioning to be available everywhere. So while I was doing that and working on behalf of closed captioning, I was trying to get sober, which I did. I went through experiences with domestic violence, which I got through, and I did. And everything was happening at once. So I was carrying a lot on my shoulders. Eventually, I grew up. And it was like 2 years ago is when I feel really grown up. I'm just kidding, but anyway. But I had a lot going on at that time. It was amazing. And it was all about growing up in many different ways on different times and different levels, but that's part of life, I guess.
It is your directorial debut. How is it interpreting Marlee's story and infusing your experiences with hers?
I really feel like by telling her story, I'm also telling stories of her community and our community, my community. I've always said Marlee's story is extraordinary and also ordinary at the exact same time. Even if you are arguably the most famous deaf person on the planet, it doesn't mean that you don't still have to navigate the system that's not made for you. And by people who live a different experience than you. And so I really wanted people to recognize that, and from people within the community to feel seen.
Yeah, and I was talking with Marlee about her experience and how she struggled to find community. So I wanted to ask you about the title of this film, Marlee Matlin, Not Alone Anymore. How do you think that title encapsulates the message of this movie?
I knew that it would be the title of the film the moment that I saw Marlee say what she said after Troy Kotsur won his Oscar for Coda, becoming the second deaf person into the Academy Awards. And I think that people don't realize how instrumental Marlee was in making sure that that happened. And she said after he won, "I'm not alone anymore." And I feel like that's so reflective of each one of us. Like, we are humans because we do seek out other humans, and we seek out people who are like us, and we try to find our communities. And we also do live in a society that is very strangely really obsessed with the idea of being the first. But to be the first also means you're alone. And what's the weight of that? Like, what weight do other people put on you being the first? What weight do you put on yourself for being the first? And what weight does the community that you're supposed to be representing put on you as well? And I think it's only when you're not alone anymore that you can feel this sense of relief. You can be seen as human.
Just like some advice, since we are students entering like the film industry, I'm about to graduate. What advice do you have for students like finding community and feeling not alone when they enter?
You know, it's once you find yourself on the outside world, I think it's important in terms of advice to say, you know, life is so big, and it's okay to not do or get what you've worked for at the outset, what you worked so hard for. The degree that you get might not be what you end up doing in life. So don't hold yourself to that by saying, I work for this and I only can do this, and this is all the work I've been putting myself through. You may not, but that's okay. That's all right. You might, you earned it, and it's all right to say, okay, maybe there's something else I can do. Or maybe along the road, you'll find something else. It's okay. It doesn't mean that you failed at all. So what you should do is follow your passion, but know that there's so many pathways to that passion. And it can feel overwhelming at times, but taste as much as you can. Taste life like just like an entire meal, and just do your best. And keep your eyes open and listen to your heart too. And try your best to exercise the best judgment. There you go.
And what do you hope audiences will take away from this movie?
I feel that oftentimes we see deaf people as singular figures in a story, whether it's a TV, oh, there's that one deaf person. Here we are, a movie. There's that one deaf character that makes an appearance. We're not alone. There's a whole group of us here currently. And I think it's time to make space to recognize that.
Thanks for watching that video. If you want to see more of our South by Southwest content, click on any of the videos over here.